You are listening to episode 2 of The Insurance Podcast. Hey guys, episode 2. Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning back into The Insurance Podcast. My name is Brad Dawson. If this is the first time you're watching this podcast, it's called The Insurance Podcast. We're specifically here just to talk about all things insurance. There's a few things I want to talk about in today's episode 2, but what I wanted to start with, just before we get into a couple of the topics, I wanted to ask if you guys could maybe help us out and just like the video or subscribe to our channel. If you wanted to keep up to date on what's happening with our social media, you can find out when the next episode's dropping, any of the updates, who we're visiting, who we're talking with. You can follow us on Instagram, which is at The Insurance Podcast. Also, Facebook, you can see us at The Insurance Podcast Australia. And YouTube, if you just search for The Insurance Podcast, you'll see our episodes dropping on there all the time. SoundCloud, if you're a SoundCloud user, our handle is soundcloud.com/The Insurance Podcast. So yeah, thank you for your support. It's really appreciated as we release more content to you. How's everyone's week been? A bit difficult to get anything done in the insurance world on the Easter week. You might recall that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all being public holidays. You probably had a chilled week if you're not working in the hospitality industry. Restaurants seem to be still pumping all weekend. I noticed on the Gold Coast and around the Tweed, there's a couple closed that I sometimes frequent, but most of the time, I think 50 to 80% of the businesses were still open. And then coming up later this week, we've got Thursday being ANZAC Day. It's another public holiday. It's a day off for Aussies. If you can make it, try and make it down to one of the dawn service and recognise the ANZACs, their ultimate sacrifice. It's a really important part of Australian history. I'm planning on attending the dawn service at Service Paradise. It's sort of just in front of Service Paradise. There's a memorial there just on the beach. It's beautiful. The sun rises up behind the ocean on the east coast, and yeah, it's really beautiful. I walked the Kokoda Trek in Papua New Guinea last year with my brother-in-law, Boyd Efferton. He and I did it in August last year. That was the second time we'd both done it. Interestingly, the first time both of us did it, we weren't together. I did it in 2013, he did it in 2015, and then we both did it last year in 2018. So ANZAC Day for me is for all Aussies and Kiwis as well. It's a really important part of our history, the coming together of our two countries. We may as well be the one country. We're that close, and we're all that involved with each other. There's a lot of Kiwis on the Gold Coast, a lot of Aussies in New Zealand. So yeah, we're all brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter. One of the topics I wanted to talk about today was a bit of a difficult topic. Not difficult for the media to talk about, but it is a bit difficult for others to talk about. I don't want to upset anybody. However, it's an insurance topic, so let's get right to it. Protesting in Australia. It's not a huge part of an issue insurance-wise. However, there was the recent targeting of farms, abattoirs, other food chain producers anyway, by animal rights activists. If just in case you're not aware of the scenario, I don't know how you couldn't be, because it's been everywhere, whether you don't watch TV or you watch podcasts or you listen to certain things or you're just on social media, it's everywhere. So protesters chained themselves to equipment. They invaded farms, abattoirs. In some cases, they even stole livestock. And I understand they blocked a fairly major intersection down in Melbourne, which was I think for a number of hours, and it was sort of part of a controlled wave of activity that culminated sort of simultaneously as they must have preempted or pre-organised this event from happening. Insurancenews.com.au covered this in a recent article, which was a good read. I also covered it in my blog. I'll put a link to both of them at the bottom of the video. In case you're watching this or listening to this in SoundCloud, if you just refer to our YouTube channel, you'll see me putting them on there. Otherwise, you can just find it on Insurance News or dawsonins.com.au. The reason I want to discuss this particular instance or these things that happened is to discuss the potential additional exposures that these protests have on the targeted business, the customers, the staff, and also the protesters. The elevated risks and dangers to all concerned are high. Probably not even necessarily as much as the normal underwriters would consider, or a client or an insurance broker would consider, because it doesn't happen every day, and these unknowns are where the issues, I guess, arise from. I guess when these people show up at business premises, their intention is to be non-violent, but even in saying so, the business immediately has a duty of care, like to shut down, to protect its employees, protect its customers. I mean, delivery drivers or transport truckies are usually stopped. Any livestock are now halted. Sometimes they're just stuck in trucks on the side of the road in stinking heat. So there's, it can often affect, a substantial part of a business, including maybe a whole day's trade to the business. Then you've got subcontractors that are affected, like the truckies. They're sitting there, they can't do anything about it. Sometimes the roads are blocked. There's so much of an impact or a wave that's created from this. A ripple effect that goes on to different businesses that are involved. So business interruption's a key point for this topic. It's sort of often misrepresented from a general perceived perspective. A normal business client, an insured, would often think that it should be covered, and that's where it really comes down to the communication between the broker, the insured, and the insurer to make sure that they understand what is covered and what isn't covered, and to make sure that the client is comfortable with the products that they have taken from the insurer, and the brokers liaised and communicated that properly in a good fashion. And then obviously the broker's available to help with the claim if something does evolve. We'll talk about that a little more in a second. In relation to the protesters, there might be a potential for an issue there as well. I mean, the public liability. What if a protester sort of goes onto the premises, albeit they're likely trespassing, but they might get injured, they might go into an unsafe area, or perhaps, I don't know, a rogue contractor or staff member gets upset because it's affecting their business or it's affecting their livelihood, and they might get physical with the protesters, or the protesters might get physical with them. I mean, it's these things happen. Can the protesters sue the business or anyone that physically harms them, whether that's the truckie, or whether it's a local person, or anything? These things evolve, and this is how it happens. Would the business, the abattoir, the farm, whatever the scenario might be, would their farm or business or public liability policy respond to this kind of matter? There's so many areas and aspects for these events that need to be considered, and they're often not, because it's not a simple process. It's not a simple, yeah, sure. Like there needs to be good, healthy communication on all parties. I think a business should try and better prepare themselves for this type of event. That's the best way to be prepared when something happens. Directors and business owners need to acknowledge that these events are real. They can happen to them. It's on the news, it's in the papers, it's not a movie, it's real. We need to consider this might actually happen to your business, and when it does, be prepared. As long as those business owners and directors or managers or general managers, whatever, have some time and consideration to give to educating the staff, additional safety measures, signposting, fencing, additional security. It can be done by working with your broker or insurer, whomever you're liaising directly with, to create policies and procedures to better enclose your business, and better to protect you, protect your staff, make sure protesters or any other party that are there aren't injured. There's a duty of care. Another way to maybe sort of try and head this off at the pass is, before any of it happens, hopefully way before any of it happens, you can speak to the local police. Give them a call. Hey, I'm in, Eagleby, I'm in Blacktown, I'm wherever you are. Call them and say, I don't know if you guys know this, but we're actually an abattoir, we're a farm, we're whatever, what have you. seek their guidance. Let them know that you exist, that you are a business there, and you'd like them to come and visit you. So when something does happen, everyone knows what to do. You've already spoken to the local police. They don't need to rush and go, where's this business? No, they know you're an abattoir. You've got a relationship with them, and it's just maintaining that and making sure that they're aware that you're there, and you take it in consideration that it's important what these things might happen to your business, and you want to ensure from the get-go that no one's injured in case something happens. Something that I've sort of struggled to talk to. I mean, I've got clients that are both farms, abattoirs, whether it's income producing, dairy, meat works, whatever it might be, and vegan clients as well. So when discussing these topics with them, I mean, I have to keep in mind, as does everybody, that all parties, whether you're the income producing farm that's making money from the sale of meat or dairy or whatever have you, or you are the vegan protester, or this is your position on your daily food choices, is that all parties think they're in the right and the other party's in the wrong. Delicate steps have to be taken to try and, when you're communicating with each other. That's why when you have these people that arrive at a premises, you've got two very forced different points of opinion, and that can often evolve into violence. So both parties think they're in the right. It's a rock and a hard place. I think it's always best to speak with your insurance representative, ask for their guidance to better prepare your business. If you're a protester and you intend on doing this, your public liability policy that you might have for your home or your contents, or if you have a business that it just purely protests, you might struggle to find a cover that's going to protect you for this. It's best to talk to your insurance broker or your insurer directly, whomever that might be. That might be it for today's episode, guys. What I want to do is I just want to keep them sort of around, if it's just me talking, sort of 10 to 15 minutes. But like I said before, if you have any questions about anything that I've said or any comments, please leave them in the comments. If you want to follow along with us on social media, like I said before, those names are there. I'll put them at the bottom of our video. If you've got any questions, our email address is theinsurancepodcast@outlook.com. Otherwise, you can reach me on our website, which is dawsonins.com.au. All right, thanks, guys. Thank you so much again for your support. Episode 2 will be dropping this evening, so thank you so much. Take care. Have a great day.